And we're live. A little bit late. I think more like 20 minutes late, but it is what it is, you know. Everyone watching, welcome to the Second City Life podcast, episode 10. 10.
That's amazing. 10.
10, dude, that's crazy. Like, it just literally feels like episode 1 was just, I don't know what. It's just yesterday, but it's already been a little while. It's crazy how time flies. But welcome to the podcast, episode 10, as I mentioned. We got technically one more episode left, which will be in 2 weeks. Next week, I'm doing something special, something different. I will be going live on Tuesday. The time is going to be still to be determined, but expect it to be around 5:15, 5:30 for a special edition. But then after that, the final episode will be the following week after that, when we bring in Henry from the Chicago Elite team. So we'll get to talk to him and learn a little bit about that team. But aside from that, I want to welcome back. So if you've been actually going into the podcast, you can actually see there's an episode that the original one, yeah, the original first episode from last year. Buddy of mine, Alex Herrera. Welcome back, brother.
Thank you for having me, man.
Dude, how does it feel to come back?
It just looks great. The setup, I like the setup, man. I love being here, man, and I love talking about baseball.
Dude, I was like, I knew that at some point I wanted to bring you. I almost low-key wanted to save you for season 2 because that's more coaches based. But I was like, nah, man, let's try to wrap it up, with where it started. And I'm like, I started with Alex. I want to bring Alex back. And I was, truth be told, like, I'm not lying here, only because I made an exception to extend it to get Henry in for that last episode. Technically, you were the last episode. It was going to end here. And then I was going to just take a small break.
Darn you, Henry. Darn you. No, I'm just kidding. By the way, I want to say, man, that's a nice jersey you got there.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
It's amazing.
I don't know who's watching. I know we have a couple of viewers in here. I don't know who's watching, but, what's that say? What's the name of it?
I think it says Orioles, doesn't it?
Orioles.
Love the support, man. Love the support.
But dude, welcome. So I know just about everyone in the league knows you. You've been around for a little while, but for those who knows, you never know. Tell them who you are. What team you coach and manage.
All right. My name is Alex Herrera. I manage the Orioles, not just myself. I also have my brother Juan, and I also had Hugo this year. If anyone knows Hugo, he used to coach the Mariners. He came and joined us and stuff like that. Heck of a person. He's just like family to us, But the team's probably been around for about 4 years. But an interesting fact, I don't know if you know or you were aware, we started with the Phillies. So
the Phillies.
Yes, the Phillies.
Man, go back. I mean,
I like those jerseys. I picked those jerseys, baby blue jerseys, right?
Like, go back to the Phillies. I mean, if that's what we're saying, like, you know what? Not a bad idea.
Yeah. So we actually came from the Azteca League. We started as the Red Sox over there, and we decided to come to Blue Island. I forgot. I think a buddy of mine told me about Blue Island. Yes.
Oh, this is gonna be a good episode. This is guys. He's a friend of mine, but I did not know that at least. The Orioles part, see, I never tell, somebody who comes in here what we're going to talk about. But because he came once before, I'm like, you know what? I want to talk a little bit more about the team. So I'm just as, new to as you guys learning this. So you guys came from Azteca League. You guys were over there. You guys were the Red Sox.
We were the Red Sox over there. So I had a buddy of mine that said, you know what? I don't want to coach anymore. He had a couple players. I had a couple players. And he was looking into coming into Blue Island. So I said, all right, I looked into it. I talked to my brothers and they said, hey, let's go to Blue Island. So we started the Phillies. We decided, we were looking at teams. Actually, we wanted to be the Astros because I love their uniforms, but there was already an Astros team there. Okay. So we decided to go with the Phillies. And when we started the Phillies, it was me and my 2 other brothers, Henry and Juan.
Okay.
All right. So we were there for about a year and we just had difference of opinion, different ways of coaching. And so my brother stayed with the Phillies for a year, and then me and Juan started the Orioles.
Okay.
And that's how we started transitioning to getting more younger. getting a couple of these college kids and stuff like that from Gio playing college or even high school kids and stuff like that. And that's how we transitioned to the Orioles. So now we've been Orioles for what, 4 years.
Okay.
So it's been an amazing ride, and every year, man, it's just getting better. The competition is getting fierce, man.
Dude, I have some questions now.
Okay.
So let's go back a little bit. I want to know, how was it to play in the league where your brother's managing another team and in the same league?
It was tough, man. But one of the things with my younger brother, he's a fierce competitor. You know what I mean? And it was very tough for him to manage being a player versus managing a team. You know what I mean? And it's hard for some people. That's why I decided for myself and for my older brother, we're like, you know what? We're just here to manage. You know what I mean? It becomes a situation where some people feel like if you're managing the team and playing, maybe there's someone out there that's a little bit better than you, and then you want to play and stuff like that. And it just becomes a conflict. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he had a couple players too that were veterans, and we had younger players. And we felt like, these players should be playing over these players. And it just became a big dilemma. You know what I mean? So a lot of the times we were like, you know what? At the end of the year, we're like, if you want to stay with the Phillies, stay with the Phillies. And we'll go do our own thing. So we decided to do that. And to be honest, I supported the team, man, because a lot of those guys I knew. You know what I mean? But I understand that my brother wanted to do something different. And that's what it was.
How was the competitiveness, when you're facing your brother? Was that like, dude, I mean, I followed you guys 2 years ago, and some of those games got really heated against, I remember the game against the Southsiders, which was a playoff game, was it not?
Yes.
Wild card game,
Yes.
I think. That was, heated, all love for the Southsiders, but it was like heated. So was playing against your brother, was that just as competitive or lesser, more friendly? How was that?
Well, believe it or not, we had it scheduled to play, and it was later on in the season. So honestly, I even talked to some of those players that, came to play for the Orioles. They had it circled in their calendar. We as the Orioles had it circled in our calendar too. we were waiting for that matchup. You know what I mean? But the unfortunate thing is something happened with the Phillies team.
Okay.
They dismantled. We never got a chance to play them, and they forfeited the last 3 or 4 games that they had and stuff like that. So,
dang.
Yes. But I'm telling you, when I talk to some of these guys, they're like, man, we could have beat you. But, I don't think they would have beat us. I mean, they had a lot of, veterans. But I just think that sometimes the youth, you know what I mean? The youth, you gotta understand this. These young players, that either played college or just graduated from college, they're practicing every day. You know what I mean? So it's not like, okay, let's go to practice. You know what I mean? These veterans, they have a full-time job. They have families and stuff like that. So they don't put in that work. So I felt pretty confident that we were going to whoop that butt, man. You know what I mean? So
that's cool though. That's cool. But so you also mentioned you guys played in the Azteca League as the Red Sox.
Yes.
So you've been in Blue Island for 4 years, and before that you were in you've been in Blue Island as the Orioles for 4 years, and then 2 years as the Phillies.
1 year as the Phillies.
1 year as the Phillies,
yeah.
And then going back, how many years in Azteca?
I was with the Azteca for a year, and then another year a buddy of mine was coaching it and stuff like that, and Gio was playing in that league.
Okay.
So back then, I mean, even the Azteca, they didn't have like age limits. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So Gio started, I think, playing at 16.
Yeah, so I that's interesting to hear, and I've also had some questions. But so what year did you start playing in the Azteca League? Do you remember?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Okay, so the last time I played in the Azteca League was when
or maybe you had a team. Okay, let's take it back.
Okay.
When you talk about being as a Red Sox, was that you as a coach or you as a player?
As a coach.
Okay, so let's just talk about the coach. So, what year was that when you started your first team or were coaching a team in Azteca League?
So let's do the math. Gio's 22, so that's about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So that was the first time we played there. It was 1 year.
2014 then?
2014, if that the math right.
7 years would be 2017. 17. Dang,
we got to go back to school, man.
Dude, we got to go back. Yeah, we suck at math.
Where's my calculator? And I do that for a living, man. You know what I mean?
Don't let your customers over here be watching
I'm
this.
just messing with you.
But also it's like that's about 2016, 2017, I think. Started your first team there. What made you start the team?
Well, to be honest, it's like my kids were getting older. You know what I mean? They were finishing up their travel career.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Gio was looking into college and stuff like that. And, my playing days were done at 28 years old because once my kids started playing, I kind of gave up the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's always a passion for the game. So I decided, to take a team and talk to my brothers, you know what I mean? And they wanted to do something as a family. You know what I mean? So my two brothers coaching, and then my brother Juan has a son. You know what I mean? I have two, and then we had cousins and stuff like that are around the same age that wanted to play together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So we decided to start a team over there in Blue Island. You know what I mean? Azteca, it was a great opportunity, but one of the biggest things is people hated that there was no fences.
Yeah.
People hated that the area wasn't good for some young kids and stuff like that. So it made it very
rough
difficult
over there.
Mm-hmm.
At least the fields, all their games are played at Washington Park. They don't have games at other fields, do they?
No.
There's like a bunch of little fields there,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the area itself is rough, and yeah, I mean, take it for what it is. So, so you did 2 years there, and then you jumped the fence and came over here to Blue Island. At that time, was that old Blue Island or new Blue Island?
Now, what do you mean by old Blue Island?
I think old Blue Island is what everybody refers to as when it was managed by Freddie.
No, so it was. I would say it was probably the first or second year that Al was running it.
Okay.
The teams there. I don't recall how many teams, but when we came in, maybe about 10 teams or so. And the top team there were the Brewers, which I have nothing but respect for the Brewers, man. No matter what it is, man, they're always finding a way to make it all the way to the ship. So shout out to the Brewers, man.
That's cool. So you come over here, and then you start the Phillies, right? That's the first team.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys do as the Phillies the first year in the league?
We did well. You know what I mean? And just a trend that we just constantly had is, in the playoffs, some of our guys got hurt. Some of our guys didn't show up, and I believe we lost in not the semis, but like the first round, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So,
what was do you remember what your record was like?
I don't recall. I know it was above 500 for sure.
You sure?
Yes.
I mean,
for
I don't
sure.
know. It doesn't sound like it.
No, for sure. We're above 500.
What's and then second year? So what when going into second year? What did you guys lose in did you guys make the playoffs?
The first year for
Yeah.
the Phillies, yeah.
And
We've made the playoffs every year, which is a great thing. You know what I mean? I think it's a great accomplishment. With our teams.
I mean, it's questionable. I mean, it's good to make the playoffs, but eventually you gotta get a little bit further every
I know.
year.
Yes, of course, of course.
But so who'd you guys lose to? Do you know?
We lost to the Expos. I take that back. The first year with the Orioles, I don't recall the Phillies, to be quite honest with you. I'm not going to sit here and remember, but I know with the Orioles, the first year we got eliminated by the Brewers.
The Brewers?
The Brewers beat us.
So if you guys have been around for 4 years, that's got to be the first year that's the year that the Brewers won the ship.
Yes.
Yeah, right? Because the year before that would have been the Expos.
No, the year before that, I think it was the Henchmen or the
the Henchmen. Well, like, again, this is like, people correct me if anybody's watching, but because I'm only going off what people have told me. But I think it was the Henchmen.
Then the Brewers.
Then the Brewers?
Then the Expos. Then the Brewers again.
Oh.
And then White Sox.
Wait, the Brewers? Damn, the Brewers got 2 rings?
I'm telling you, the Brewers.
Dude, I gotta get Joe in here, man. I need him to talk some smack. I feel like bring them rings over here.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought they only had 1.
Mm-hmm.
Also, but they just didn't breed people. They do have 2. Then that's cool. Dude, that's awesome that they have 2. So so you guys lost to the Brewers, which it makes sense because they did win that ship that year, right?
And you know what? I feel like this every year, right? That was a good year for us. You know what I mean? It went down to probably the last play, and it's unfortunate, and people will remember because I lost my cool, man. There was a ground ball.
Okay.
Gio was hitting and hit a ground ball to third. He didn't even run it out. He was jogging. They overthrew it or underthrew it to first base. Literally would have been safe if we would have ran it, called them out. We had, I believe, the tying run in third, would have scored the tying run, and we would have probably gone in extra innings, you know what I mean, and probably had an opportunity to go to a game 3, if I'm not mistaken. You know what I mean? So after that, you know what I mean, I lost it, man, because he didn't run it out, man. It was horrible, man. It was horrible.
What was it? Well, okay, let's dissect that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a given. We like, we know we don't like it. We see players never hustle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they deem it as an easy out, they don't, sometimes they don't even run. They'll just walk to the dugout,
Mm-hmm.
which is an automatic out, right? But in that situation where he's not running it out, and then you see the overthrow, how did that feel?
You know what? It felt horrible in a sense where, one, that's my own child. You know what I mean? I'm the head coach. But I felt bad for the players that were on that team that gave it their all. I literally had a kid, okay, I'm not lying to you, that got into a car accident a couple days prior to the game. Made it there, had bruises and everything like that, but he was there. You know what I mean? So he's giving it his all. You know what I mean? And for Gio not to run that out, you know what I mean? So it was jaw dropping. You know what I mean? And you know what? A lot of different things, different aspects of the game could have changed the outcome.
Right.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, that's the one that stands out.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like every game we can all agree that we could have done this, we could have done that after the fact, right? It's easier to say, look back, if we would have did this, we would have did that. But at the end, everything's a sum, right? You don't lose the game on that last out. You lose the game throughout the game. It just keeps getting further away. You can stay in it, but if you were in the lead or in a position, even if that's overthrown, he doesn't run, you can still win the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because those things weren't done, that play itself was that much more important. That
of course,
at that, and even honestly to me, did you ever come along during the fall ball to the fall tournament? Did you come see any of the games?
Not this year, but last year I showed up to a couple of games. Yeah.
So there was 2 games, and one stands out the most for me. And then I've talked about it in the other episodes where we were down, if I'm not mistaken, by like 4 runs, I believe 4 runs, and it's time limit. So these are the last 3 outs. That's all we got. That's it. Time limit. This is all we got to do it. And I remember I was the first at bat for that inning, and I told myself, I was like, well, swing. You like just swing is all I can tell myself in my head. And but we were down, and we were like, but I don't think anybody had given up yet. And I remember who was pitching at me. I think it was either Vic from the White Sox who was playing as the Nats was pitching to me, and I think it was like high ball. And then the next one, like high and out ball. And I was like, okay, it's 2 balls. All right. Probably shouldn't swing at the next one. But I'm in a situation at that point where like they want me to swing. The guys or like just swing, if it looks good, swing, even if it is that. But I'm like, man, that's 2 balls, What are the chances? I was like, I didn't swing, it's strike. And then like it was right down the middle. I'm like, okay, 2-1. All right. Well, let's play it out. Let's see what's going on. The next one. Inside, high and inside. I remember I had to move back. I'm like, this motherfucker's gonna hit me. Like in.
You was aiming for the head. No, I was kidding.
So I was like, oh shit. But then at that point, I'm like, damn, it's 3-1. And now, my whole goal, since I started actually getting, behind the plate with the bat, is I want to get a base hit. I don't want to be walked, to the base. I want to get an actual base hit where it's, base hit. And I haven't been able to do that, so I was like, man, but I mean, the game's on the line here. I can swing at this next pitch if it's good, or I can just throw it up in the air and just get a full count, right? And I just said, fuck it. And I let it go, and there was another, I think that one was, again, outside high, and I got walked. I was like, well, at least I'm on base. There's no out still. Let's leave it up to the next couple of guys. And we had the top of the order, I think, coming in. And he walked the next 2. Actually walked 2 and then got a base hit. And then the last guy ended up getting hitting a home run and scored all 4 runs, and we won the game.
Now, let's reflect on that play just alone. You could have been selfish, right? You could have thought about yourself. But this is something that a lot of coaches like to see. You know what I mean? It's never over. You know what I mean? So you did the right thing. even though it's 3-1 count, you know what I mean? You're looking at a fastball maybe down the middle, right? But you saw that it was a ball. So you got walked. If you were selfish and wanted to try to get that hit, you know what I mean? You could have probably struck out and the situation would have been a lot different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, this game, this is what's so great about this game. It's about strategy. It's about never being out. It's about doing the right thing, or you know what I mean, just looking at everything, every aspect of it. You know what I mean? And just think about it. To me, that's the MVP right there. That got you where you needed to go.
Yeah, because it's different. It's different than starting that inning with an out, because and you psych yourself out because again, I walked into that inning, the last 3 outs, and I'm like, damn, I'm the first at bat. Like, that's not the spot that I want to be in as the newest player, probably in the entire league. That's not the spot you want to go in when you're losing and you really want to win. To be like, okay, you're the first at bat, but I also don't want to tell myself, oh, I'm just gonna be an out. I was like, in my head, I was like, no, like. If I'm gonna get an out, like at least I'm gonna make it interesting. I'm gonna for sure hit the ball, and then if I get out, I'm out. But I'm also not gonna, like you said, I'm not gonna be dumb and swing at a dumb pitch. Like if it's, I see it all the time. You probably see it all the time more than I do. The guys who chase it.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? That that clearly that would have been a ball. Why did you chase it? Because you want to get the hit. You want to get a hit. Just wait. And I just waited it out, and I got there, and it allowed the rest of my team to do what they do best, right? Because to me, they're the players. I was a player at that moment too. Like, they're the players, and I believed in them to make the that as well. And
that's one of them for
me. And I have very few to look back on, but. Like, that to me, it's like, man, like, my head, I could have doubted myself and just say, whatever, just swing at this. And
you didn't, man. So the good thing is, man, like I said, man, that walk, knowing the fact that you had the top of the order coming, the heart of the lineup coming, that gave you an opportunity. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, think about it. You get bases loaded. Where are you going to put that next batter?
Yeah, because I think, who was next? Can't remember the second guy's name who came in. The top of the order had somebody. Typically, it's I had Mike on there, but I think I put somebody else and then followed him with TJ. Which, shout out to TJ, and then after TJ, then I had Mike, and that's how Mike ended up hitting that homer and winning us the game. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, but. Okay, so that happens. You guys lose. You guys go on to the next. The next season. I think that would have put you guys at 2022 because I met you in 2023. So that's the year before me. How'd that season go?
We've always been above 500. I believe we probably only lost like 4 games or something like that. You know what I mean? So we were. Maybe one of those favorites, you know what I mean, to, make some noise, but, shout out to the Expos. We lost to the Expos. And the things with the Expos that I like about them, man, I like playing against teams like that, where it's all about the game. It's all about strategy. And they beat us. We tip our hats, you know what I mean, to a nice fought game. You know what I mean? And the unfortunate thing with us, to be honest with you, and this is one thing that I've struggled with, is having young talent, right? When you have young talent, they help you through the regular season. And then it gets to a point where they have to go back to school, you know what I mean? Or there's injuries, and that hurt us. You know what I mean? We had one of our better pitchers that couldn't pitch because he was going back to school. You know what I mean? We were missing our 3 and 5 hitter, I believe, in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So again, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter how you do in the regular season. You got to be all the way to the playoffs, you know, to try to get that championship. You know what I mean? On paper, I feel like we have one of the deepest lineups, but there's no point if they don't show up at the end. You know?
So I know you at some point we talk all the time outside of this, and finding that balance between young players, veteran players. Um, that first season when you guys lost to the Brewers, was that mainly young players or veteran players?
It was young players. It was young players, yeah, because that year we were missing Capis, who was my catcher, and my number 3 hitter. And then we missed, I think, Hickey. You know, people that know Hickey, you know what I mean, didn't make it to the first game, I think, and made it to the second game. So that's an arm right there. At that time, that's a bat. He was my number 2 hitter. So imagine missing your middle of the lineup, two of you guys in the middle of the lineup. It's tough. It's hard to win with those without having those guys.
And then the when you faced the Expos, still had pretty much only mostly young talent still.
Yep. And the same thing happened. You know, we were missing a couple key guys, and we had a few injuries. You know what I mean? So
that makes sense. And I meet you, 2023, which would have been your 3rd season.
Yeah.
Which that team was different because that team was actually had more veterans than young players.
Yes, but remember what happened? We had Hector. Shout out to Hector, and we had Hector and one of my other guys that was hurt. Remember, they were hobbling.
Yeah.
And even though we beat the Southsiders,
how is it?
No shout out. No shout out to our president Al. You know what I mean? No, you know, but it was a hard fought, you know, battle and stuff like that. But we pulled it off with 2 guys that were hurt, and we only had 9 guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was tough, man. It was tough, but we got through them, and I think we lost to the
Nationals.
The Nationals, yes.
Because we in 3 games.
In 3 games.
But it wasn't a sweep. But that being said, I want to talk about that year because that's the year that I met you, and I actually I go back and I think about some of the coaching strategies. Some of them I don't agree with that you fight for, but I mean, at the end of the day, you know your team, and I think most of the strategy in baseball is knowing your team, right? But I remember, so the first game we played, the one we played against the Southsiders, that was the best of one. No, that was the best of 2, but we had the lead, right? The Orioles had 1 game up because we were a higher seed. So it was in the Southsiders' interest to want to win the game so they can be a game, technically a game 3, right?
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, we ended up did we drop the game?
Not dropped it, but, you know, I felt like if we were going to win that series, being a little short-staffed, it was going to the second game full, because the Southsiders had to win 2 in a row.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So we had, I think it was Dylan that started the first game, if I'm not mistaken, and the Southsiders blew us out. They blew us out, and then I believe the second game,
I think you started Gio, or you brought in Gio at the end, and then you brought him back to start the second game.
Yes, I believe so, yes. So, and, you know, I thought about it. The second game, I'm like, all right, we're going to go all out. Because at the end of the day, I knew they were going to be tired. I knew they were going to be, you know what I mean, exhausted after 3 hours of a first game. You know what I mean? So that was a strategy I had that year. Because I said, okay, we're the higher seed. You know what I mean? At least for this round, they have to win 2 in a row.
Yeah.
You know, so.
So I guess dissecting that matchup, it makes sense. You know, we have the upper game already going into the series, so we can afford to lose that second game if we think that the game 3 will be our stronger showing. Makes sense. Which we did. I mean, actually, it was close. Actually, I'm not even gonna say that we did, because it was a close game at the end. It came down to the wire.
Yeah,
you know?
I think it was a couple runs, and that's how it started getting a little heated and stuff like that. You know what I mean? When certain things came about, you know what I mean? The rules, the time, all that stuff, you know what I mean? And anybody that knows me, you know, I try to follow the rules as best as I can. Some people might not like that, but it's just me, you know what I mean? And again, you know, the Southsiders, they're a good team. They have been a good team. You know what I mean? It's just, I felt like we've had their number, you know, the last couple of years. It's just like, I feel like the Expos, they have our number. You know what I mean? You know, they knocked us out twice. So
then we go to the second series. We make it past the Southsiders, and then we face the Nationals. So that one is. Tell us how that went. Tell us how game 1 went.
All right. The number 1 pitcher in the whole league pitched. He came out of retirement. His name is Alex Herrera, by the way. So I decided I kind of used the same strategy, right? I'm like, all right, I'm not going to use Gio, who was our best pitcher at the time. I'm like, I'm not going to use him for game one. I said, if we're going to win, we're going to have to win game two.
Mm-hmm.
So I put myself to pitch, right? And I did all right. I think I only lasted like 4 innings. You know, they did hit me a little bit.
Yeah.
And the Nationals ended up winning the first game. And then this is when Gio pitched the second game, and he pitched a no-hitter.
Yes.
So he pitched a no-hitter. Or was it a perfect game or a no-hitter?
No. I think there was...
No, it was because I remember that day. Because I remember his curveball. Yeah, his curveball was working and everything like that. And we ended up going to game 3. And game 3 was tough. I mean, the Nationals, you know, they won it. But I feel like, you know, and I'm not making excuses, but there was a questionable call with bases loaded. I don't know if you remember. Hector was batting.
I'm trying to think that game 3.
I remember that. Hector had bases loaded, and the ball literally hopped into the catcher's glove. It was a full count, and they rung him up with bases loaded. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we were out of the inning. We had bases loaded. I believe it was in the first inning, if I'm not mistaken. You know what I mean? And that could have shifted the way the game went. Imagine, as a pitcher, because I was a pitcher myself, you get rattled in the first inning and you give up 3, 4, 5 runs. It's hard to come back from that. You know what I mean? And the unfortunate thing for us is they rung up Hector, called in a strike 3. We were out of the inning. We didn't score any runs. You know? And I forgot what the final score was, but the Nationals ended up pulling away with it.
Yeah, they ran with it at the end, but you know, see, again, it's the game was strategy and the game is trying to win. But I think I had this conversation with somebody else. I don't know if I was on a podcast or just outside the podcast, but I was saying, and I stand by it. It's like I couldn't give up game 1, and I know you guys didn't give it up. I mean, we played through and tried to win it, you know. But I would, if in a best of 3 series, I would rather go into the series with 1 game up, knowing that, hey, I'm gonna throw my best after the first game to win it, and let them play from behind. Because, so we lost the first game, right? Now the pressure's completely on us. You better hope that Gio does throw that perfect game, because if he starts to struggle, then and you fall behind, there's no game 3.
Yeah, but you also have to look at it this way. You put yourself in their shoes, right? They have no other option than to go all out the first game. So I knew either way, whether we won it or lost it, it was going to be a close game or it was going to be a battle. So they were going to throw their best, their first game. So why not save my best for the second game?
But I don't think I don't know that team. That was the Nationals 2023 team. I don't know them. I know they had the core, you know, was the same that they had in 2024. But I know some of the pitchers that were there, I did not see them this past year when I was kind of, you know, going with them. I know they had Brian as one of their pitchers. They had Andy. Who was it I see pitch sometimes for them back in 2023? There was Mickey, and then one other guy that I know for a fact I didn't see anymore in 2024. And I think I asked Andy, I was like, hey, what was that guy? You know, what happened to him? He's like, oh, he didn't come back anymore. He left. But point being is, I don't think they pitched their best pitcher the first game. I think they threw their best pitcher the second game.
Well, I got to look back, but I think it was the same pitcher that pitched both games. He pitched right-handed one game and then left-handed the other game.
No. So there was a guy who was pitching first who got pissed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Who got pissed. He
You're
ended up almost getting me and Ugo at the time kicked out the field, if you don't remember that.
I remember that. Oh, you're right.
So it was that guy. He gets taken out. And he was getting, you know, pretty out there, you know. And he gets taken out, and they bring Andy in.
Mm-hmm.
Andy only makes it through. I don't even think he makes it through the inning.
No, we hit him, but then I think he had soreness or his
arm
was bothering him.
His arm was bothering him or something, and he doesn't even make it through the game. Then they bring in Brian. and I think Brian at that time threw the remainder of that game with his right arm.
Mm-hmm.
Then started the second game with his left arm.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think, did he pitch the whole game? I don't think so. I think Richard ended up coming in to close it. But the point being is like I think Brett throwing lefty at you guys on the second game was the best.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think and I'm sure he's a great righty, but I don't think I've seen him a handful of times throw righty.
Everything was working for him, man. You know what I mean? He's a heck of a talent. You know what I mean? I mean, to be able to throw.
And Mickey at some point, Mickey also pitched a couple of innings and then had to go too as well.
Yeah, yep, he had to go. Yep. And see, and that's just what it is sometimes with baseball, man. You know, you have your guys. You know, you start the season right, pretty confident. I got this guy. You know, I have this starter. I have this closer. I have this lineup. And then as you get further into the season, you start seeing some not show up.
And we lost Hickey.
We lost Hickey
because he got injured and he couldn't play. When he was able to come back, he couldn't play anymore. Yeah. So I think you only had Gio. You had Gio. At that point,
we had Peyton too. Remember that big, tall 6'9"? But he ended up getting the one that got drafted to the Indians and stuff like that.
Was he there?
He was there, but he didn't make it to the playoffs because he had to go back to school.
Yeah. So, but at the playoff run, you only had Gio, you had
Dylan,
mm-hmm. and then you had Jose.
Mm-hmm. Jose.
And that's kind of it.
That was it.
Yeah, so
because we lost Hickey.
Yeah.
Big Peyton.
Yeah.
Those are two big pitchers, man, you know.
Yeah, so it's hard.
That's why I pitched that first game.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because you basically only had those three arms to that. And I even remember during one of the seasons where you even said, like, there's a chance that you might need to repitch Gio again if it came to that, because it was that struggle. It was like who else are you gonna where else do you go if you've already been down these other two guys?
Yeah.
So no, that's rough, but yeah, see that's whole hard, because it's for me, like, I just would much rather just leave it all after that first game, and then if you're gonna lose, you're gonna lose at that point. So it's like versus drop game one, and then to me the pressure's all on me now. I have to win game two, and if there's struggles, like, man, like, there's not gonna be a game three. There won't be a game three, and some of those teams, every team is. I think this year there was better teams than that 2023 year. But yeah, that's rough. But I know then moving on to 2024, I think that was 90, like, Jesus, 80% a new team. I mean, besides, your kids and
Hector
and Dylan and Jose, I think that's it. That's all that's the only guys I knew of. Everyone else is like, I don't know. Where did you get these guys from?
Well, I decided that the year prior, right, went with more veterans,
right,
because of the college situation.
Yes,
with some of the kids, right. Then I decided, I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna go rely more on the college kids now. You know what I mean? And there's a couple kids that either I coached in travel, or they played high school ball with my kids, or they played college ball with my kids. You know what I mean? And that's where I kind of recruit them. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where a lot of these kids want to play with their friends. You know what I mean? So the guys that I got, you know what I mean? We got a lefty, you know what I mean? That goes to D2. He goes to a school in Maryville, somewhere kind of by St. Louis and stuff like that. He was hurt in the playoffs, so we couldn't use him.
You're right. I mean, I didn't meet him, but I know exactly who you're talking about, because I did meet him on the sideline.
And his name was Camden, you know what I mean? Or is Camden, I'm sorry. So he was hurt, you know what I mean? So we got him. Then we got Brennan, who was our catcher, our number 3 hitter. Riley, who's our shortstop. So we just started getting some of these kids. And when these kids came, you know what I mean, we just went running. I think we went into like a 6 or 7 game winning streak, and it was not even close. We were beating teams, even top teams, by 7, 8, 9 runs. You know what I mean? And everyone's like, this is a team. You know, where did they get these guys? You know what I mean? And I even told my team, I said, we're going to be here. If we play 500 ball, until these kids come back from college, we're going to be in good shape.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I think we were 1 or 2 games above 500 before the break, and then the kids came, and then we just
Yeah, it was a rough early start,
mm-hmm.
and then you guys just ran with it, like legitimately just ran with it. How was your schedule? Because I know 2024, some guys complain about, oh, that team, faced kind of all the easy teams, and and then they should probably had no business being in the playoffs, and then other teams that faced stronger opposition still made the playoffs, but they were complaining about those routes. How did you see that schedule for you?
I mean, any coach that's been in Blue Island, they know their competition for the most part. They just have to gauge the new teams, right? So I'm not one to complain about the schedule. I just felt, and this is just my opinion, there was, I don't know how many teams, 18 teams.
We had 22.
Okay. So whatever teams we had, I don't understand how we were facing the same team twice. And it was just not no random teams. I mean, we faced the Southsiders twice, which is, the number one team, and then we faced the White Sox twice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was a hard schedule for us. I mean, we didn't complain. We split it with both of them and stuff like that, and we played the Southsiders in the beginning of the year, and they beat us. It was a close game, but we didn't have all our guys.
And you guys just whooped them.
Yep. Afterwards. But look, their team was strong, man.
Yeah.
Their team was strong. I'm not going to lie. I went in with that game with all this confidence, right? And then Gio comes pitching, and all you hear is cling, cling. I mean, they started hitting Gio. I'm like, okay, this is not the same Southsider team, right? But then again, my team came up to bat, and we started doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And then the White Sox, the first time we faced them, the same scenario. But I think the first game we faced them, we had the game, and I think someone hit a 3-run homer to win the game. You know what I mean? I mean, those guys are just gamers. The White Sox are gamers, man. And they beat us. But then we had a stadium game towards the end of the year, and I think we beat them by a lot of runs.
It's funny that you mentioned that stadium game, because I've heard individuals on that Sox team, and shout out to them because they won the championship. But I remember some people said that we weren't even trying. That I'm like, BS. Like, I was there, and like there was players on that team that were just pissed in the dugout where they were arguing.
Yeah, it was tough.
And some of them left because they were arguing within each other because they were pissed that they were losing to you guys. But I mean, that pitcher you had on that mound was, he was a beast. There's no, they couldn't do nothing.
Josh, yeah. And he's a good outfielder, and he's also a good hitter. I mean, but just think about it. This is why I was saying, as far as my team, how deep we were. I was batting 12, 13 guys.
Yeah.
And we were just hitting and hitting and hitting. And they just, no matter who they threw, we were hitting them. You know what I mean? And that's one thing. That's why I respect teams like the White Sox, like the Brewers and everything like that, because to them, the regular season, yeah, they want to win. But guess what? They're always there in the playoffs. They're always winning in the playoffs. That's all that matters. We could go, undefeated all year and then lose in the playoffs, and it'll mean nothing.
Yeah, but see, I think they're probably on what they have is some people would say a farm system. In a sense, and we'll see how they shop out to be for 2025. But I remember, and I gotta watch what I say, because these guys are, they're the guys that'll come and snip this and say, but like, you remember when you said this and that? Because I know they literally have a screenshot of me saying something to them about them not winning it, and yeah. So let me watch my words here. But they have a good farm system in the sense that they were playing in 2 leagues, right? So they have the ability to run 2 good teams, right? Or you just say, not the best team, but good teams. And then they all get playing time. And as long as how many games do you need to play in?
I believe it was 7.
So
7 or 8.
So you got to show up to 7 or 8 games and actually get a bat in, right? Is from I believe the rule is. So what they can do is they have the luxury to just siphon guys through in the league side to get that at bat, to get that qualify status for the playoffs, and then come playoffs, they weigh their options. All right, which league is more competitive? And then just literally, and this is all my opinion. I don't know if that's how they do it. This is just what I think that they probably do. They'll take their best players from one league, bring them to the other league to play those games, and send what I consider the B squad to the other league. Why can they do that? Because they're able to judge how strong their opposition is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if the teams that they're playing in the other league for I mean, I think in both leagues the playoffs are not, they don't match.
No, our playoffs start earlier
Than theirs. Yeah. If it's only until you make it to I think the semifinals and championship game is when you're competing with their playoffs, which is probably their wild card game. It's at that point. So they can throw their B team out there and probably beat a wild card team because they know that, like, okay, we're gonna beat this good ass team over here, to move to the next round, and we need our best guys here. And then come the playoffs, like deeper in the playoffs, they just weigh out their options. All right, how many games are we here? When are the games being played? And they know how to manage.
Yeah,
they know how to manage, and their depth is so big on both sides. I mean, these guys probably had 25 dudes, you know, on the Blue Island team, and another 25 dudes on the other league. Yeah. You know,
and that's how I vision our team, right? And the thing that is great about them is they're all veterans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I see my team, you know what I mean, with all these kids now this upcoming year, a lot of these kids are graduating already. You know what I mean? So they're going to be here full time. This is their year of graduation. You know what I mean? So I feel like if I keep these kids, and then you got Ivan's age, who's 19. They were freshmen now in college. They have another 4 years. They have their friends. You know what I mean? So I feel like in 5 or 6 years, we're going to have the same blueprint. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What the White Sox do. You know what I mean? Have all these guys that we could literally rotate in and do that. And that's smart. You know what I mean? As long as they're getting their games in, as long as it's being managed, I mean, kudos to them, man.
Yeah, kudos to that, like, being able to manage 2 teams in 2 leagues, like 50 dudes, essentially, you know, and being able to, and I think comes down to respect also on the player side to the coaches, to respect, to say, hey, you're not playing here, you're going to play over there. Or you need like, if I sit you down, you need to come out because someone else needs to go in to go get a hit in. Like, to be able to respect that, because I think a lot of things we you know, just say don't focus on too much is that players have egos.
But see, they have something to back it up. They have those rings. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, they can't question the coaches if they're constantly winning.
That's
you know
true.
What I mean? And at the end of the day, anyone that's a true player, anyone that understands, if you have a deep team, you have to come and play. You know what I mean? And that's one of the biggest things too. Like, you know, at least my team, right? I tell my team in the beginning of the year, those guys that know where they stand on the team, I said, look, this is your opportunity to get your games in. This is your opportunity to show what you could do. You know what I mean? Because when I'm in full squad, you know, it's going to be tougher. You know what I mean? So you got to showcase, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, you know, you're going to manage some egos. And if you could do that, it's going to make you a better team. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you're always going to have 1 or 2 that feel like, hey, I need to do this, or I'm this guy. You know what I mean? If not, you know, I'm going to find somebody that's going to let me do what I got to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you can manage that, man, it's going to make you a lot tougher.
So, but you guys did end up making the playoffs. Who did you guys face the first round? Did you guys get a first round bye? No, you did get a first round bye because you were the first seed in your division. Mm-hmm. So you didn't play till was it the quarterfinals, I guess, right?
Yeah.
You guys faced who?
The Expos.
The Expos. How did that go?
Well, they beat us, I think, in game 2. Yeah, they beat us. And like I said, I don't make excuses, but just a lot of things happened that I wasn't happy with. You know, we had the national game versus the Hitmen.
Yeah.
The game before, right? And I don't know how many hours. It was way past the allowable time. So imagine having your team ready, right? Ready to play. At the time, they're there about an hour and a half before the start of the game. Mm-hmm. And you're literally sitting for 3 hours before you start a game. Not only that, you play the game, right? And it's already going on to 8, 9 o'clock. And you're expected to play another game. You know what I mean? So half of my guys left. You know what I mean? And the same thing, I mean, again, I'm not making any excuses. It is what it is. You know what I mean? It was a close game. You know, hats out to the Expos. They pulled it off. You know what I mean? We were shorthanded. We didn't have everybody, but I wish our situation would have been different. I always feel like every year we should be there. You know what I mean? But it just doesn't happen.
But they won. But I left. I saw a little bit of the game, and then I was like, all right, it's too late. And I feel you. I feel for you when it came to that portion aspect of it. I went home, and then I heard in the morning you guys lost, and it went down to literally a walk off, right?
Yeah. So what happened we were up, I believe, one run. It might have been one run, and there was a what I felt was a strike. PJ was pitching a heck of a game. It was a ball right down the middle in our eyes. He called it a ball. Walked him. Next guy gets a hit, scores a run, ties the game. You know what I mean? We come up to bat. We don't score anything. Then they went in on a walk off. You know what I mean? So PJ got so upset. You know what I mean? And again, people could say, "Oh, the umpire's this, the umpire's that." It's not just that one play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that factor into it. But at the end of the day, that's the one that kind of comes up.
Because I mean, you guys in the beginning, you guys were going homer for homer at heart.
Yeah.
Like boom, home run, boom, another home run. You know, they go back, boom, home run, and it was just. I thought that was interesting. That was fun. As a viewer, as a fan, that's fun to see. To see just two teams. You know, even though we're talking about Hart Park, right?
Yeah.
Hart Park. You know, like it's not like not to discredit anyone, but it's not like they're hitting this out. You know, in Crestwood, even Crestwood's still not that big of an outfield, but.
But if you recall, Idan, he had already 2 home runs that game.
Yeah.
And then he got put in a situation where I think it was runners in second and third, and they rung him up too on 2 inside pitches. He was livid, man.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get upset. You know what I mean? And it was just the way things were going. You know what I mean? That's when I started feeling like, okay, we're going to have to fight harder to try to pull this off.
Yeah.
Everything was against us.
Like,
I felt.
Not to say that the were questionable and all that, but I guess you got to think fatigue. They also want to go home, and we're human. This is not MLB, right? They're not making hundreds of thousands of dollars to be out there. So, sometimes it's like if they can get away with it, right? Because we know that at the end of the day, if they're calling some bad calls, someone's gonna hear about it, and things are gonna get done about it.
But this is what happens too. The fans influence sometimes the calls. Vic, no, I'm just kidding. Vic was there at the game. The White Sox were there and stuff like that. And you know what I mean? Obviously, they had an opinion on balls and strikes and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, I think he persuaded some of the calls and stuff like that. But hey, at the end of the day, they're not the ones making the call.
No.
You know what I mean? It's the umpires. You know what I mean? And like I said, I mean, everyone was excited that it was there, that saw us lose. You know what I mean? A lot of people were shocked.
I think that I was shocked to see you guys lose. But then at the same time, I didn't know the Expos. I don't think I've had seen any Expos games at all. So I didn't know what to expect from them. All I remember was seeing Toma, though, on the mound, and
he's always a dog, man.
I was like, who is this guy? Like, because he was...
You know what? I think Tomas has probably his best games against us, man. He comes out, and he wants the ball. You know what I mean? I remember the stadium game that we had a couple years back. We scored runs on him, but he didn't want to come out. Long story short, we made some errors. They ended up pulling off the game. And that's when I said, I mean, there's some teams out there, man, when you face them, you can't take them lightly, man, because they're gonna get you. And the Expos constantly get us, man. You know what I mean? That's why when people are like, there's some people, oh, you got the Expos, you got an easy. I'm like, man, I was telling my brother, I'm like, no, we have to game plan this to make sure. And then Marco was hurt. Which was
you're right, because I didn't see Marco. I think I saw him once or twice, and he's a
big bat,
dude.
He's Marco,
yeah.
And then you had Camden, my outfielder, that was there at the game but couldn't suit up because he was hurt.
Damn.
So that's my 2 middle of the lineup order people. You know what I mean? So think about it. And I always feel like, why does this always happen?
Oh, and he would have hit some homers too, because I've seen Marco. He hit. Two or three homers, and since I met you guys, where I've been physically present, and I seen him hit, I'm like, damn.
Just imagine Marco batting before or after Idan, and Idan's already swinging a hot bat. Even if they try to walk one of them, they're gonna have to deal with the other one.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So, but again, it happens. That's baseball, and that's why I love the game, man. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, It could be anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's whoever's day it is. You know what I mean? And, it sucks. I feel like every year we have an opportunity, and every year when we get to the playoffs, it becomes a situation where we got people hurt. We got people that don't show up. And at the end of the day, that's on us. You know what I mean? As coaches, it's on us. Because guess what? Maybe we should pick a better roster to make sure that these guys are showing up.
Yeah.
So,
we're in the off season. What's the off season looking like for the Orioles as a whole?
well, me and my brother are coming back. You know what I mean? Ugo was a big part of last year. I'm not sure. He's undecided about this year. But this year, you're going to see a lot of the same guys, pretty much. And we added a couple players, which to BD. You know what I mean? So we'll let you guys know when they come. But they're going to be key pieces as well. You know what I mean? So one of the things is, Hickey's coming back full strength. The thing is, right now with Hickey is he's focused on making it to the next level. You know what I mean? So I talked to him. I talked to his dad and stuff like that. He's about 90 throwing 90 right now. You know what I mean? So it all depends on how school goes. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, he might come back or he might not.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you could tell he's always going to be an Oriole. And see,
he even shows up to you guys' games too. He's just
yeah, man. Because the thing is, that's what I like. And you know what? You see a lot of players change from this team to that team and that team. And the thing is, I've been fortunate enough to have the same guys, and they don't go nowhere. I've had a couple guys change, but those aren't my guys. You know what I mean? Guys that I've coached or guys that started with me.
They're the outliers.
Yeah. Those are the ones that, hey, can we play with you this year? Okay, yeah, that's fine. But my core guys, they're not gonna go anywhere.
No,
you know what I mean?
And just speaking from facts, from just hearing players who maybe at some point played for you and no longer play for you, or other players just looking from the outside in. They say that you have a baseball team that's like family.
Yeah, man. Listen, man. One of the things that I try to do, I try to take care of our players. I know my situation. Young kids, they don't have all this money, but they have a passion to play. You know what I mean? We always buy water for our players. They don't have to bring anything. Every year we have tacos. We do a taco truck. It never fails. You know what I mean? And that's my appreciation to the team, because they're giving away their Sunday. Some of them have families. You know what I mean? Some of them feel like they might have other things to do. But that's what I do for them and for the parents too. You know what I mean? And again, it's just a passion, and I appreciate that. That's one of the biggest compliments that I could probably receive. You know what I mean? And kudos to all the players, man. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, I feel like if you have players that are gonna be there for you, you know what I mean? They're gonna show up first and foremost. You know what I mean? And if they know that they're being respected, if they know they're getting treated well, why else would they go anywhere else? Unless, guess what? They feel like I'm not the best coach. I can't get them to the next level. Then maybe they'll go. But I tell all my players, if you're gonna go, that's fine. Just let me know, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. At the end of the day, just let me know.
Well, 2025 is just around the corner. We're in December. 2025 starts as just less than 30 days away at this point. Have you guys started already, like, working out, or do you guys? Yeah.
So not yet, but I always start in January. So me and my brother always get together. We already started the group chat with some of the players, asking them if they're coming back, if they're not coming back, adding some of the players, new players into the chat. You know what I mean? So we usually start after New Year's. We start practicing once a week. You know what I mean? So we start hitting first, and then we start doing bullpen. See, I don't believe in bullpen right now. You know what I mean? I feel like closer to the season. You know what I mean? Right now, it's as a pitcher, you have to kind of get your arm ready. You know what I mean? Strengthen your arm instead of doing bullpen. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, we're going to start in January, and hopefully, you know what I mean? We get ready, and this year is going to be tough. There's a lot of competition, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So, and I was going to ask you, say, what are your expectations for 2025? But I'm going to save that question for next week. Because you'll spoilers for those people who have tuned in till now. On next week's, which is a special edition, we'll be talking to some of the coaches. Hopefully, every coach. So I'll ask you that question then. So we'll save that for then. But we've been live for an hour, having a good conversation. What's something you want to talk about that we didn't talk about?
Anything that has to do with baseball, man, to me, I could talk about. Here's one thing. How about those Dodgers, man? How about those Dodgers? They have $1 billion payroll.
Yeah.
That's insane. I think personally, you know what, with anything, there has to be a limit. You know what I mean? They have to. I can't pay somebody $2 million, now, and then in 10 years pay them the rest and stuff like that. That's just insane, man.
Well, I'm not okay. So I'm a White Sox fan, right?
Yes.
But once they don't make the playoffs, at least at the moment, I think it's fair game to pick a team that's in the playoff and root for them, right? Mm-hmm. You're not being disloyal. It's just you love baseball. So I did pick the Dodgers as well. I didn't join the bandwagon, right? Honestly, I was actually born in LA. I'm a West Coast baby, so just fitting that it's the Dodgers. They do have that big budget, but they're offsetting it to later on, and it makes sense. They want to win now, and they also know that that the money will come. You think about $1 billion budget, right? That they have to play all these guys at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But just think about how much revenue they're bringing in right now.
And that's my thing, right? There has to be some limit, because you can't have Cleveland compete with the Dodgers, right? Because a lot of players, let's say Ohtani, right? He's like, all right, I'll make my $2 million in my salary, but endorsements and everything else, they're gonna make all that money back,
right?
You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. I'm like, you can't be, Cleveland Indians or Guardians, you know what I mean, and compete against something like that.
But why not?
Because as far as the market, there's no room for advertisement. You know what I mean? It's not a big market. LA is huge. You know what I mean? There's a lot of commercials. There's a lot of this, a lot of that. It's a little bit more expensive.
What's Chicago's excuse?
That's why if you see the North Side, they invest their money. The White Sox don't, man. The problem is the White Sox here. White Sox, and I think it goes with Chicago sports in general, right? They have the team, but they don't put in the money with an experienced manager or an experienced coach. You know what I mean?
I don't think so.
Tony La Russa, stop. That's way past his prime.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
My thing is getting a coach, someone like for the Bears, let's say Belichick. You know what I mean? I would pay whatever he's asking for. And they didn't.
They picked up somebody from the coach from the Buckeyes. FYI, I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I've heard it, but I don't know if is it final.
I don't. Well,
because you got to finish this year and stuff like that. They're just saying that they're talks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
And see the White Sox too. I'm like, they hired. I don't even know who they hired. But they hired somebody else. I'm like, who is this guy? You know what I mean? I want to see someone like David Martinez, someone like Joe Girardi, someone that has those credentials. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's like the Sox just need to change management. Management needs to go.
Management, ownership. I see.
Yep.
There's no team in the MLB that's not profitable, right? Mm-hmm. I think every single team has the potential to do the exact same thing the Dodgers are doing. These owners are multi-millionaires, if not billionaires. They can do it. They choose not to. Mm-hmm. Because like you said, they can take a hit now that they're going to get 3, 4, 10-fold just on the road. Just take the hit now. Why don't you? Because they don't want to hurt their pocket a little bit.
So let me ask you this. If you had an option to live in LA or Cleveland, where would you want to live?
If I had an option to live in LA or Cleveland, it's deeper than that. It depends on what it depends, and
your
I say
priority,
my
right?
priority is, and I say this because if like right now, this is not news to anyone who knows me. I'm tired of the cold. I love the snow, but I'm tired of the cold. Because right now, yesterday, the few days is like 15 degrees, 18 degrees. That's miserable. There's no snow. Mm-hmm. It's just miserable. You can't do nothing. And at least when it's snow, it's kind of warm. It's not cold, because otherwise you can't get snow. Mm-hmm. It's got to be in that 34, 33 degree weather so you can get some nice fluffy snow. So I'm tired of the cold. So I don't want to be here. So for me, I take LA any day now. Why? Because Cleveland is gonna be cold. It's just gonna be no different than us.
And see, just like in Miami or in Florida, I believe there's no taxes. So some people are influenced to go there because they don't have to pay taxes, right?
But if I want to cost save on my pocket, Cleveland's cost of living is way lower than Chicago.
But that's why
and LA.
But that's why the salaries aren't as big. You know what I mean? That's why they can't afford to get a guy that's going to get paid $200 and something million.
But think about how much revenue that they would earn by winning. Being like we could let's talk about the Bears, right? Let's just see it from the Bears aspect.
Okay.
Just about every Bears game has been sold out.
But where are we at? Chicago, right? They invested in players, right? They have the money
now,
to invest in players,
Burley.
right?
I mean,
not the right coach.
But
though.
I mean, how many years
right.
have we been with shitty players?
And that's because management. I mean, we haven't had a winning coach since Lovie Smith, I think it is. You know what I mean? But Lovie Smith did a great job, but he was a player's coach too. People did a lot for him. You know what I mean? The other coaches, we're going to try this because our offense is bad. Let's have this guru for the offense. You know what I mean? Where, the Bears, are a defensive-minded team. Monsters of the gridiron. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, yes. I mean, I think you could go anywhere, but a lot of players look at it. If you're not a veteran and are not really chasing the ring, you're going to go where the money's at. Now think about this. And we're talking about Cleveland, and I'm not just downsizing Cleveland or anything like that, but a ticket to go to a Guardians game, right, might be half of the cost of a Dodgers game. So that's where they have that money to be able to pay players.
But
a lot
because
more.
they don't win, though.
Of course, but the Bears don't win. You know what I mean? And it's just because they're more worldwide. The Bulls, you know what I mean? Even with Jordan retired, they were a little bad, but they had fans everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a big market. You know what I mean? You don't hear, Cleveland, Minnesota, you know what I mean? Those are small, but they're winning. Minnesota wins. Cleveland wins.
I mean, look at Milwaukee. Milwaukee just won. I mean, it's not a huge market, but look at them too. So, but one last thing when it comes to the Dodgers. How do you feel about the fact that Ohtani didn't pitch at all?
I think, first of all, this year he's going to pitch. And I was okay with it because they had so much depth as it is. With him not pitching, he was still doing his thing, hitting.
Right.
You know what I mean? And honestly, the Dodgers with Freeman, bro. Freeman was just hot. Ohtani got hurt, you know what I mean, in the playoff game. But I was okay with it because Ohtani, honestly, should be the MVP every year. You know what I mean? If he's hitting and pitching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no one like him. Now, keep in mind,
but that's his allure. That's what I miss. I'm like, wait, why is this man not pitching? Because honestly,
he was hurt. That's why they kind of shut him
was
down
he
for the year.
was he hurt?
Well, that's what they say.
Because I'm honestly his hitting during the playoffs, I don't think it was that great.
But look, let me tell you one thing about baseball. Anybody that's been around the game, you know what I mean, since they were kids, your pitcher is usually your best athlete. You know what I mean? Your pitcher, like I'll take my son for example. He was a pitcher, middle infielder, you know what I mean, and middle of the lineup growing up. You know what I mean? You have a lot of kids that are pitchers, but they can swing it. You know what I mean? There's a kid that I know played with Ivan. He's in Virginia right now. He was getting drafted and stuff like that, but he didn't. I talked to his mom before the whole draft and everything like that, but he was getting picked low in the draft, so he decided to go to Virginia. He's lefty, all right? His name is Tomas Valencia. I mean, Mike knows about him, but he's a lefty pitcher, 6'2", 6'3". Throws about 90, but he also has a bat. So his mom was telling me that he decided to go to Virginia because guess what? They were going to give him an opportunity to be a two-way. You know what I mean? And the thing is, if he were to get drafted, they were going to make him a pitcher. So just think about it. So, there's a lot of good athletes, but Ohtani, when he came to the States, he says, I want to do both.
Yes,
if not,
I'm not
going to do it.
Yeah.
If he didn't do that, if he didn't demand that, you wouldn't see that right now. Same thing with what's that Houston Astros I can't think of his name. Little short guy, second baseman.
I know exactly who
Altuve.
Yes.
Altuve, sorry. All right. They always said you have to be a certain height to be playing. Look what he did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So again, these kids have these dreams. You know what I mean? To be playing professionally and playing in a certain way. Ohtani's making that happen for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And for him not pitching, it's because it's the best thing for baseball too. Because if he would have got hurt and you don't see Ohtani pitching next year, or this upcoming year, it's gonna take a lot out of baseball, man.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? So,
but I mean, he had surgery. He should be back. But they're a great team. I have my bets are that they will repeat. I think they're as close as it's gonna get to a team repeating, because I think it's only been done a couple of times in history, and it's been many years since that's happened.
yeah, I think it was the Braves and the Yankees. I think maybe, but yeah, it all depends too. Free agency, man. Soto.
Nah, man,
you know
they're making moves.
I know.
They are on challenge. And then I've also heard, and because I gotta wrap it up, but I've also heard that their farm system, with at least with the draft picks, picking up, college players to even, as far as they can pull people, is it's really good. They say they treat every single guy that if they pick you up at some, even for single A, double A, whatever, they pick you up and they're in their farm system, you're getting the same treatment, the same everything that the MLB guy is getting. He's like, so it's nice to know that, to say, hey, they drafted me, even if they drafted me at a low pick, whatever, right? That I have access to the best trainers, the best gyms, the best of everything, because they want me to play at that level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they want to be able to call me up at one point, hey, I need you. Versus other teams, they don't have that. They're like, you're basically like a second class citizen. Sure, you were technically picked up by let's say the Sox, but they send you down to, triple A, double A baseball, and you have to pay for everything your own, with a salary of like $20,000 a year. You're expected to pay for food, a place to live, and pay for gym memberships, food memberships, every trainers. It's just not feasible. That's why people, and that's a whole topic for another discussion. But I have done my little bit of research on it, and this says that's why teams like the White Sox also are the way they are, because even the Cubs actually have a pretty decent farm system,
mm-hmm.
where they do take care of most of the players, and they pay them a livable wage to be able to focus on the game and improve their game to get to that pro level.
Yeah.
Because not many players come out of college ball at that ready to just jump into a pro level game.
There's some, but you know what? Like the Sox are known for pitching, and shout out to Noah Schultz, who's a Oswego kid. You know what I mean? He got drafted in the first round for the White Sox and stuff like that. And I'm hoping to see him pitch this year. You know what I mean? He worked with Mark Sheehan, heck of a coach. He's a pitching coach. Worked with Gio and a couple other guys, but hope to see him, and hopefully he gets an opportunity to be in the rotation. But this kid is amazing, man.
Well, gotta wrap it up, but I do want to thank you, brother, for coming on the show.
Anytime, man.
Dude,
I
that's
enjoy it.
like, it's, to me, it's like right now, it's like, I didn't expect it. I wasn't even expecting to do another podcast episode after last year, and I was like, but something led to another thing, and here I am, and you're the second to last, but to me, you were originally supposed to be the last episode of this season, because I wanted to end at that. I want to thank you for coming here and always supporting me in everything I do, from photography, from the teams to the podcast. You never had to come, but you were like, just tell me when it is, and I'll be there. And I'm very appreciative of that. I call you a friend, because you are a friend.
Man. Same here.
So again, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for telling us about the Orioles. And then last time, sharing a little bit of wisdom on the other episodes. So if you have not seen the original first episode of the podcast, go back. It is here. It is on the YouTube channel. Go find it, watch it. Trust me, there's a lot of wisdom that he can share to you, especially if you're looking to start a business and stuff like that. But other than that, you have your own business. You have a girls softball team. Yeah. So if anybody who's interested, I'm sure you're looking for players for the girls softball team, right?
Next year. This year we're good. You know what I mean? But I want to end this with this note. These are jerseys that we never got to pull out a couple years ago. So anybody that has an opinion on this jersey, let me know. We're thinking of probably going cream next season or this upcoming season. But what do you think about it?
Dude, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice.
All right.
I mean,
I like the black ones.
I like the black ones, but I mean, I like it, man. You got a 50.
Don't worry. Next year when you become an Oriole.
All right. So for everyone else, thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned. I should probably release some information regarding the special edition episode next week. Other than that, I will catch you in 2 weeks on Thursday at 7:30 for that final episode of the season. And then I'll be gone for about 2 weeks and then come back January 1st. Think about that. I got January 1st.
It's crazy.
Bring in another Oriole. I'll just leave it at that.
Hector, my boy Hector.
We'll find out.
That's my
So,
boy.
have a good night to everyone. Thank you for tuning in.
All right, man.